Welcome to my 4.3 project for data patterns and my capstone update. This is for business network analysis. My name is Christina Constantino, and this is February 3rd, 2019. So my capstone company that I'm working with is Starbucks. It is an international company that sells coffee, other drinks, snacks, food items, and actual merchandise, and they have other items that they sell in the retail stores outside of their own franchises and store-owned locations. For the Bayes theorem, I pulled this from a study that a group of people did. They actually sat into a Starbucks and monitored for a few hours the time wait for a person ordering and receiving their beverage or their order that they purchased. And as you can see here, the probability of waiting longer than 5 minutes is actually 21.2%. For data patterns, I'm reverting back to last week's assignment and looking at the stock prices and the Bollinger Bands for 6 months over 2018. The stock steadily increases, and as you can see, there is one minor dip in November, and that is gradually starting to increase again. So you can see that the data pattern is fairly steady across the board with little dips, a little bit of growth, and then slightly back averaging off again. For the data trends, I have captured 26 years of data for the total revenue and have the fiscal year as well as the total revenue and the change in percentage. As you can see, for the 26 years, only 1 year was a decrease, which was 2009, and it was a 6% decrease, but then the next year recovered with 10% increase. So over the 2 years was actually a 4% increase if you go from 2008 to 2010. So you can see that's a 96% of the time of the 26 years that it is trending upward in sales. For data clustering, so with data clustering, it gives you better visualizations. You can target specific details, which is like a subset of data to help you analyze it more. And this one here demonstrates the number of transactions and the amount spent per transaction. So data association. The data association that I chose to pick was actual mobile apps that you can use for payment. As you can see, this shows a chart of Samsung, Google Pay, Apple Pay, and actual Starbucks app pay. You can see that Starbucks overall many people who purchase there use their own app for purchases. And then the next runner-up is Apple Pay. And this is only for sales within the Starbucks buildings. So for correlations, the definition of a correlation is the interdependence of variable quantities. And there are 3 types that we're going to talk about: spatial, temporal, and coincidental. So for spatial, you can see I have a map here, and it demonstrates all of the locations in the United States. And this represents the spatial correlation to the area population. So more heavily populated areas have more Starbucks locations in them. Temporal. So with temporal, it actually is going to be pertaining to an area. So basically, if you look at this map, you can see the red dots are actually where the coffee beans are, and the green dots are the actual Starbucks locations. So you can see that the beans are getting distributed to the locations that are closer and rerouted through the closer stores. Coincidental. So this image actually is depicting the revenue and the revenue growth. So you can see the difference there between the revenue growth and the actual revenue with the estimated for 2018 through 2020. Network analysis. So Starbucks uses multiple social media networks, and Two that we discussed in this class, I brought in and gave the statistics for that. As you can see, Twitter, quite a few tweets and followers. If you do notice down by where it says tweet analysis of 100 tweets, Starbucks doesn't really retweet anything itself, but does have a lot of tweets with mentions and replies. Now for Facebook, there is it shows the actual total likes and then the likes of today. So you can see that information there. They're a category of food and beverage. This was last updated on February 1st. So this would have been the today would have been a February 1st data. And it was tracked for 1,785 days. Optimization and risk reduction. So when I was reviewing all of the data with Starbucks, then what I noticed was anytime they have a new product line, additional product, they actually increase their sales, and obviously their stock goes up at the same time. For when they got their new app and provided customer rewards, that also generated more customers. Customers always like to see products that give them a return in some sort of way. Actually, one other thing that I recently discovered was that Starbucks actually has its own credit card now that you can actually earn points, which you can trade in for beverages and food items in the stores. So optimization, I would say they should continue to develop new products and customer rewards because that will only benefit their end profit, their sales, and their stock. So the future of the data. So basically, the data is going to continue to grow at a rapid speed. Data will need to be clustered to provide better analysis. And the trend analysis supports the increase in data because revenue continues to increase every year. Revenue increasing means more sales to record, more information to capture, more locations to grow into, and so forth and so on. Another thing that I did notice when I was doing my analysis that Starbucks really hasn't closed that many stores in comparison to how many stores it has. So it has tens of thousands of stores all over the world, and since they have opened, they have closed less than 500 locations. So international expansion. So this was a little tough because Starbucks is actually pretty international now. They have locations in several areas. So I don't really have a recommendation as where to go into new, but I think they should continue in every area that they already are because they're already in the major parts. China, Japan, South America, they are all over the place. So they need to just continue to grow and expand in the international areas. Some political concerns to consider when internationally expanding are government regulations, different labor laws, taxes, and the stability of any political situations in those countries. So climate issues, well, there could be a bunch of different things. There could be availability of natural resources such as water, maybe potentially moving their menu to a different than the normal United States menu. If they're moving into a colder climate, they may not want to offer as many cold products. They'll probably want to introduce more hot products. They may also, in the opposite too, if it's hot, they may want to introduce more cold products. And they have to also consider how the product is going to deliver. So if they have to keep the products cold, they have to consider that if they're delivering to a hot climate, and the vice versa with the same. International expansion for potential threat of terrorism. Of course, the main three hitters there are ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and HVE, which is the homegrown violent extremists. You can see here in this picture here, it shows actual areas of where they're primarily operating. So if Starbucks was to go into those areas, they would want to take note of that and beware of any possible terrorism. So here's a list of my resources. I have 2 pages actually, and I would like to thank you for watching.